Okay, we're back. Audio. Hi everyone. Sorry for the technical hitch. Flipping time. Welcome to the evening slot, you evening people. Europe anyway. It's 8 p.m. standard time. British summertime. Got 7 GMT. I thought I'd try this slot and watch. A lot of people are working in the day, so maybe great. Might do a bit up the day. So, what are we doing today? Rolling, recording, and we're all good. So, back to my stream. Building space stations procedurally in Unreal using visual plugin Apparance. So last time we put a door in. Funkiness. You control the position of the door. Open, shut. Wall. Walls a bit cleverer, so they're better. A few bits to tidy up. There's some trim around here we could do with, and probably fiddle with those first. Get back into the viewer. Yes, we'll do that first. Get into the swing of things a bit, and then we're going to probably start thinking about how we specify that we want the doors to appear. If you two rooms together, I want a door there, and it. How do we do next bit? We can talk through some of that and probably start with something simpler to start with, and be revisited later. What I was going to do was have a look at the example scenes that come with this asset pack, and they did around the doorways. Might inform us the best way to do it. Going to need some trim along the bottom here to bring it out, much like we did here. We added these to make. Maybe there is something there, or a bit of floor tile. I don't. So yeah, if we go and find the demo map. It does use the small door area. About that. Here's one of the wide doors. That's the door. Smash it into the door fill. Door fills out. Yes, we're gonna go with this floor line. So that we push into the wall back. It's again more. Guessing it's. Oh, they've got the door is the size of the whole of the. Okay. I like the fact that they've used. I have to support both. We'll see how it goes. Get this trim and alignment finished. It does mean that the gap it's filling is slightly. What I have to do is just cheat a bit and scale it to a bit more. Right, remember this picture. Floor filler, ceiling filler. Stretch it slightly to or scale the whole thing up. Oh, okay. Thank you. I've had a technical report. I think I might be gate. Turn those down. How about that? That's probably a bit better. Yeah. Sorry about that. Bit of a glitchy audio apparently. We'll get the hang of it one day. Hopefully that's better. Yeah, if I talk quietly, it's still registering. Okay, good. Let's go with that. Yes, remember that picture. Let's go back to our map. Test map. So what we've got here, we've got, okay, the floor line is there, so that should be fine, and the ceiling line is there, so that should be fine. So it needs to fit out slightly. We're just gonna have to scale it, I think. And then we need to insert some pieces, but we also need to work out what this size is and get that centered. So I think we should probably, because previously we had this offset just by typing a number in. We could, thank you, Minasunas. And it was literally, yeah, so we put a number in by hand to position that, and it doesn't line up great. We want it to sit on this back line neatly, because when we've got another room next to it sitting along that line, like over here, we can see that. Move this one over. Yeah, so if we have a nicely positioned to line up there, whatever the actual position is, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Then we want the door to sit centered on that line. There. Both sides will treat the same way. So we do need to center this on this back line. So let's do that calculation first, because we can actually base it off of the, I don't know, we might be able to base it off the width of the asset, thickness of the asset. We'll see. So let's go in, open up the procedure editor and have a look. Right, let's position that a bit better. So this is our test thingy with our door. Oh, we just set it here, I think. Yeah, so it's like, oops, daisy. -2. Do that. Yeah, so we could manually find out kind of roughly where it is, but that's not going to be as good as working it out. What we can do is, let's find the door. In here, door panel main, door. No, so it's the frame. It's that we want the size of. I think. Yes, because the X is the thickness. I think yes, not scaled. So let's bring that in here purely to get this. Purely to get the thickness of the door, and we want negative half of that. I think. Let's try that. We can just multiply that by negative 0.5 and then see. Now that's a vector, so we need to turn it into a vector in X. There we go. Has that worked? Well, I don't know. It looks like it's not. Interesting. Could be it's symmetrical, but it's not aligned to that. I wonder if there's something else going on. That's just an offset relative to a split. Yeah, that splits in Y. Offset in. So if that's 0, what does it look like? Okay. Oh, okay. So it's relative. 0 is here. We've moved it back by half its width thickness, but that's going to be relative to this point, not here. What do we actually want to do? Oh, we actually want to move it back the thickness of the wall, right? That doesn't sound right. Hang on a minute. brain maths. Need that meme of the person thinking about all the maths. Let's think a minute. So this distance here, this is one, like, what do we end up with the wall thickness being? That's a very good question. I think it's 1.25, isn't it? Maybe we just need to move it back half of that. Half of 0.25 is 0.625. Does that look right? Ooh, that looks right. Ish. Quite look right. Why does it not quite look right? Maybe I did that wrong. .25, 0.625. Yeah, I think that's right. Let's go with that. We don't actually need to use the thickness at all, so we'll get rid of that. And we'll leave it like that. We weren't too far off, but there is now rhyme to this madness. Yes, so set back half wall thickness. Okay, that's what we're doing. Great. Well, that's that done. Next, we need to work out how to fill this space. And what is that space? It's a very good question. I think we might have to jimmy it. But what we can do, we also need to be off the front of this. It's not the front of that. Oh, that should. That's not halfway through the thickness of the wall. Again, we're going to play with this and see what happens. Where's this going to happen? Door, I think, needs to have the actual pieces in front of it and probably behind it. Oh, we could do that as a mirrored reusable thing. Let's do, let's call it door extra, no, extra pieces door line. Do it like that. Hopefully that's a bit better. I bet my microphone volume got set. Windows set it to something funky again. I'm just going to check that actually. Hold please. Recording, microphone properties, levels. Oh, look at that, 89. Let's go with that. That's a bit better. I'm probably a bit loud now. That's better. Let me continue. So we need to work out the space in front of the wall, which is going to be relative to this frame. So a useful bit of functionality, which I might be able to use. It's going to need an offset anyway. Is it better to do that? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to so we've got this thickness. I'm going to shrink it slightly because our mesh is wider than the piece of wall we're going to be building out from. So I need a frame that fits here and not here. Let me visualize that for you. That might be easier. Let's do that. Show frame. This is the frame we're starting with. Yeah, I've got space for that. So that's the bounds of the actual door. We want a frame that's along this line and this line, so we can shrink in X for that. And if I do shrink in X by a certain amount. Let's do 0.2, oops. Let's do 0.25, see what happens, and that's the result. Well, looky here. I think I might have accidentally hit the exact figure. So 0.25 it is. If I fiddle with that value, you can see that, yeah, it's going to be just there, which is 0.25. Amazing. Now we can want to build out from there. So what we can use for that is the extend, which generates a bit like shrink, but not. It generates 2 frames off the front and back, or side to side, whichever axis you do it on, of a particular thickness. We're going to go with 1, just the default for the minute, and see what that looks like. So that's extended off the front by 1, and we can see it's not matching our floor line. I reckon that's probably 0.75. Let's give it a go and see. 0.75. Bang! Look at that. Okay, that gives us a space to fill, and then the ceiling will be the same. So we need a bit of. It's going to be slightly non-standard, I think, because that I don't think is 0.75. No, and it's not 1. So that's 0.5, I think, and then the floor pieces are 1. So we might have to squish a piece. That's a bit messy. We'll go with it, see what happens. So we want to be able to fill that symmetrically with floor pieces of a width 1. That sounds familiar. I think we've done that before. Let's have a look and see if I can find how we did that for. So under floor filler, no, that's the main one. Should I tile? No, hang on. Did we not do it in here? Place 4s. Subdivide. Well, we could just put a floor. No, it doesn't scale it. Or did we use some utility? I thought we had a single line. What does that actually do? 4x1 or 4x2? Oh, that's. Yeah, that fills wide spaces. I kind of want the same thing, but oh, I could use a border edge. That'd work. That's symmetrical as well. Let's just use that and come back later if we need to. Now, what does it do in the that's the X direction, so it builds in X. These pieces are Oh, it might be fine if we give it so, because we're trying to get width 1 pieces into a slightly smaller space. So, but it's actually not. It's going to use the size we give it, so it's not going to try and make it a unit width. So we can use this border edge symmetrical. So let's try that in there. Let's see what happens. Bonk. Well, what did that do? I have a feeling. Oh, it's because so X is this way. If we go back to the frame, we can see X is sticking out, whereas these build along X. So we need to reorient that. Let's do that. Put the magic reorient operation. 1 in Z. We use that instead. Look at that. That's nice. We'll go with that, I think. I need a ceiling equivalent. Oh, we got. Oh, we didn't do a ceiling version. Well, we'll just have to make do. Let's make some more space here. So we're going to also need to do the back and the ceiling. So this is all kind of several pieces the same. I might. Is it worth generalizing this to the front and back? Oh, I was going to do that, wasn't I? What did I call it? Door filler. let us take I'm going to take all of this because I want it to be based around a door frame bounds, which is what we've got here, and I want to have it work either way around. So let's do that. Let's grab a merge. We might want some extra bits, so let's start with one, which is the bottom, and we can also, if we've got the frame with the X that way, X, Y, and we rotate around the Y by 2, that'll give it the upside down version. So if we put that in there and see, let's just put the, so now we've got this in a sub procedure instead, we can use that in here, bed off that. There's going to be 2 of these, so I'll put a merge in. That gives us that. So that's now nicely filled. There's a little bit of intersection, but I think that's fine. It's filled that to the wall line, floor line, sorry. Just need to do the back one because it's going to be responsible for both. So when you've got 2 rooms next to each other and 1 door, there's going to have to be some logic to decide who's in charge of the door, and leave the wall up to, because the wall is split and only handles one side, whereas the door handles both, then each room can handle the wall, but the door has to be handled only by one. They can both have the same logic and just have it turned off in one of them, so that you don't have 2 doors overlapping. It's probably the simplest way of doing it. But I'm going to get it to build the back as well. But now we've got a little procedure for that. That shouldn't be too tricky to add. In fact, it's just another one of these with a reorient, because we want the back of the door. So we're going to flip it around in Z and whack that on like that. There you go. So that'll do the back nicely. We could vary. It's quite nice to have the 2 sides matching. They are random to some degree, but we could have the top different to the bottom. So let's do that. Let's bring out this seed here. Oh, so this is the top. Floor fill. And then if we wanted to add any extra bits to embellish the doorway, like this end, then like hide this end piece, we could. Might actually do that. That might be a better way of dealing with this, because I'll come back. We'll talk about that in a sec. Let me do that. So what they're doing, seed, yes. So we want the bottom to be one seed and the top to be another. We've got an operator for that, so we can just use the same seed but get 2 different values. And now, coincidentally, we get the same result, I think. Let me try and wire that up. Nope, don't need that. In here. So this is the seed for the front and back, and they want to be the same. Oh, door hasn't got a seed. Let's give it a seed. That means we get, where's that being? Oh, test door here. Yeah, seed. Seed. Okay, yeah, now it's working. Yeah, so we've got a matching bottom and a matching top, but they're different, which is fine. So I was going to, let me shut the door, because this is because the door piece, the wall piece has been uniformly scaled. We set it up last time where there's a value to get it to scale to the so all the door pieces scale with the actual frame. I wonder if that is circular. It doesn't actually look circular. Maybe stretching it to this length would fix that. Is that circular? Somebody tell me if that's circular. I would say no. Oh, I know what I can do. Oops, not that. I thought you could select. I thought you could marquee select in Unreal. Let me just do a little. That's not going to help, is it? I know. Let's grab a snap of that and have a look in here. So let's do this ring here. That is 500 wide, 524 high. That is not circular. We need a little bit extra wide, which the stretch might do. So let's have a go. So yeah, before I was talking about we either stretch it and it distorts things, or we put some extra fillers in here to hide the black bar. But it actually might turn out that just stretching it would fix both those things. I'll put the light down so you can see me a bit better. So let's do that. Let's stretch it and see. Okay. Door. The door is placed here, which is, yeah, so in here, what were we doing? We take the, that's the thickness. This is the, so we've taken the difference between the actual asset bounds and where the size we want, and we've done some scaling calculations vertically and horizontally. Okay, I think what I just need to pass in a slightly wider or slightly longer frame, which we can do using a trick of the shrink operator. So the shrink, you specify the size you want to shrink to, but if you tick this box at the bottom here, it will shrink by that amount. And if X is the thickness, Z is the height, Y will be how far along, and we're going to do some units. So let's try doing that. Okay, so I've shrunk it by a whole load. Now, contrary to the name, you can use shrink to grow it by putting in a negative amount. So if I put in like -0.5, it would get bigger. But that is, well, that's interesting. That's too far. So what do we need? Let's go somewhere between -0.5 and -0.5 and 0.5. We can play with that and see what we're looking at. I think it's probably going to be 0.25. Yeah, it is 0.25. But we've hit a problem. Our wall piece does not hide the problem. Let's put it to 0.25. Oops, sorry. 0.25. Does that align? Yeah, that aligns correctly there. Although we get a bit of intersection there. We do, however, still stick out. Now I think this piece is, because we're using this squashed as an edge and filler, doesn't work. But also we might not always have that piece. I think if we, wait a minute, different positions. Yeah, so if it's against a normal piece of wall, that's not going to work, is it? I think what they, in their example scene, they always had it next to that thick piece, but they also oh, that's the seed, hang on. They also, doesn't even work with that one. Yeah. We've squashed this piece down, which means it probably doesn't hide it nicely. Oh joy. What do we do here? Well, has it? Yeah, I think that's looking circular. Oh, that wasn't the right button. Sorry. So that's not straight. Let's have a look and see if we have made it circular by doing that. Six nine nine seven oh eight. Nah, not perfectly, but oh, not too far. Yeah, look. I reckon if I sit the outside of that, 707 709. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed. They want it to be used. So that that would explain. So this piece was 10.5 long, I think, the mesh. And that's because of those two end pieces, which are 0.25 each. The actual wall segment is designed to be 10 meters, but with the extra sticky out bit. Now, there's a few ways of fixing that. I think the simplest one, I'm going to have to be honest, is to squash the wall slightly. Is that going to work? God, no, it's not, because there's going to be lots of bits that it has to be thinner than. We could try it. I mean, it is very chunky, thick, and these are very deep. Maybe it wouldn't matter. Right, I'm guessing it wants to be parameterized though, because I know we offset by this amount. That should be fine. So this, as we shrink the wall, we need to make these filler pieces wider. Oh, I wonder if that means this. If we end up with this being back to 1, that the wall will be the right. The door will be will fit nicely in there. Maybe we are. Maybe it is too big. Maybe it is. Let us open the door and have a look at. Oh yeah, look. We're not. We've got this problem here. We've got our bits of wall sticking through, so we are going to need to shrink it. I reckon it's quite a chunky door. We can afford to shrink it a bit in the X direction. So let's do that. Let's see from here. So what are we doing here? So we take the X, we are shrinking, but we haven't got a scaling factor. Do we need a scaling factor? We do, because when we shrink the door, we want to also shrink to a specific size. We also want to shrink the inner door piece, doorway there. The door panels themselves also need to shrink by the same proportion. So we need to do this same logic of calculate that scale factor, so we can apply it. Well, my 8 o'clock viewing time has gone down well. Nobody's watching. They will come, don't worry. What I might do is do this a couple of weeks running, so we can, maybe people will realise and come and watch. Anyway, let's carry on. How are we doing? Half an hour or so. Let's carry on. Finishing the door niceness. Right, what was I saying? We need to... So that was the fit out to remove end border. So that's what we did there. This width we've taken from the asset, we're going to reduce slightly by an amount. So let's just subtract something off it and see what happens. So we've got the thickness. So let's go thickness adjust. So let's take off 0.2 and feed that in there. Right. So it's got thinner. If you notice that the door panel doesn't, but that's fine. We're just going to work on that in a minute. And these outer bits are now wrong. So what we'll do, we're going to take off 0.2. We need to add on 0.2 to these, which we'll do in a minute. First, I need to do this same calculation here. So let's call it thickness scale, which is basically the same again. So X after divided by X before the adjusted X. That's our thickness scale, and we're going to apply that to the X of the door pieces. I think. All right. Does that mean? Let's fiddle with this. Does that mean if we adjust this? Nope. Why are they not? Thickness scale X after. Oh no, that is the right. The before is before this adjustment, and because this is the value passed in here, the after. Yes, that's better. So if we change this, yeah, we can see the wall, the panels shrinking as well. That's good. So we need to work out what a good size is to hide all our mischief. So if we go over here, we could see. So I go back to here, so we can see the door poking out, and we've got this frame bit. So we basically need to hide everything. Oh, it's going to end up quite. Oh, it's there, isn't it? There. 0.75. That's quite a squish, but it does work. 0.75. That's quite a lot. Oh, what's going on here? Oh yes, that's because we've not adjusted for the. Have we done there? That's the floor. Hang on. Let's see what happens. Oh, we're taking off. It's not extending the right thing. Why are they overlapping? I'm going to have a look. Right, so we take our door filler. Oh, the door filler. Right. We are assuming it's the proper width, but it's not. So we're looking here. Yeah, with this shrink by shrinking by too much. How do we correct for that? Okay. I wonder if we. That's odd. I might just scale that value by our scaling factor. So let's try that. I'm just going to try it and see if that works. So we want to do 0.25, but we want a correction factor of whatever that is, which will break because that defaults to 0. If we feed that in there, does that fix it? It does. Okay. May or may not be our solution. Yeah, we're going to have to put up with that. So we've made it thinner, but we need to make this thicker by probably 0.25. But oh no, we are. So we've shrunk by 0.753. I wonder if 0.75 is enough to still hide our sins. Yes, it is. So 0.75 seems like a winner, which means we need to add 0.75 to our door filler here, which is this one. So that means that's 1.5. All right? No. That needs a scale factor then. I wonder if I do. Bear with me. If I had my 0.75 and I divided by my scale, does that do it? Nope. That produces the same result. I need to multiply it by my scale. But my scale is smaller. Won't that make it smaller? Yes. That's rubbish then. But 0.75 was assuming this 0.25, so I wonder if we can subtract it, because that's an amount. I wonder if we 1.5 minus that. Yes, I am hacking here. Nope. 1. No. Oh, this is horrible. Well, in the interest of not working out some horrendous logic, actually I'm going to do it the other way. I am going to use the scaling factor, but I'm going to fudge that instead and hope that it's a better number. So 0.75. Ooh, 2. Is that on? That's close enough. Look at that. It is 2. I'm going to go with that. So it's. I don't think that's a 1 width anymore. It might be. Might be a 1. But now everything's hidden. We don't get the black bits. Fits nicely. The door is thinner, but I think that's fine for a space station doorway. It was quite a chunky one. I think that's not too bad. Let's see how it fares with the other. So we can. The door all operates fine. And what happens? Oh. Right, we've got some mess here. Okay, that looks like it's exactly matching. So that's. Yeah, we probably need to. We do need that little extra bit, which, yeah, that doesn't actually work properly. Oh. Oh, we need to not scale in the floor piece. Okay. But other than that, that probably works. Let's fix that. It's not pretty, but we're going to do it this way. It's not going to be anything sensible. I'm going to have to do it by eye. Oops. Yeah. That's not great. Yeah, I'll do 1.5. Is that good? No, I'd rather it stuck out more. Let's do. Oh, that'll do. But I do need to bring this in. I think this scaling I'm doing is just shouldn't apply to those. So where's that being done? It's because we're using the resized. Hang on, that's the shrink. Oh, we're doing it here. It's because it's happening here. Well, I could do this after. No. Actually, it shouldn't matter because it's a different axis before it's fed into these other things. Okay, let's move these over and I'll do that. So we go into there. Hello. Sorry. Right. Then we shrink the other way for these. But we don't for the floor bits. Yeah, so these now don't use the expanded one. Ooh, look, we've got a gap. Oh no, we're going to die. The oxygen's going to escape. So, all these plans and everything, and I still need to put a blooming filler piece in. What's that going to look like? It's going to look like a problem I'm going to ignore for now. That's what it's going to look like. I'll do that another time. Yep. Right, let's try some other scenarios. This one, we're back on that one. That looks fine. Piece is fine. What else have we got? Big chunky pieces. No, I didn't use those. Let's try again. That one. Nice. Yeah, that works fine. That one works fine. It's when you don't have a pillar that we have a problem. Okay. here. Well, I suspect we could find some filler pieces to go in, or would it be a door thing? Be nice to have a little triangular piece in this corner. I don't think we've got anything like that. Let me have a look. It's all big pieces. The small bits we've got are these, but they don't. Well, I could jam in a piece like one of these. I'll try it. Let me have a look. Dum, 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 dum. What I was thinking was find a little tiny square piece wherever they've gone. The floor. This one. Yeah, one by one. Let's have a look. 5 degrees, please. There. Oh, that wasn't quite what I wanted to do. Go back to there. Turn it around there, and then turn it 45 degrees. That was a bit bigger. Sure. That position there would do nicely, although it would stick out horribly at the back. No one would care about that. I could do that. And where there's a pillar there, you just get a nice little edge bit. It does fix that. Probably a bit of funky calculation to work out where to put it, but it would build it relative to this piece here. Oh, I could show you another funky frame operator that we haven't used before. There's one called diagonal. Are we going to do that? Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to do that. Tidy up my doors. Don't want any leaks, especially not on a space station. Right, let's get a frame in place and then I'll do the asset afterwards. So what we are talking about doing in this door filler. Yes. So we've got the bottom. We don't need it at the bottom because this piece is fine. So the top frame here, look, we left a little bit of some extra inputs in case we needed to do anything funky. Let's do this like so. So let's show frame. So we've got this bottom frame here. We're going to do something with that. So it's the same frame as we're both using, but it's up the other way, so we can see the X. The X is there. The Y is there, and the Z is there. So well, let's do this corner, and then we'll work out from there. So we're going to need a little piece that is. So we need a rectangle that fits here. Frame that fits here. So that's going to be it's going to chop a bit off there and chop up, and then resize it to a certain, maybe the thickness, because it's going to be starting from here. So let's make a square and then offset it down. Yeah, sure. So we need the green. We need the Y, and use that for the Z. Let's do that. So we take let's get the size, and actually we're going to do a lot of frame stuff. We're going to resize it, but actually all we need to do is split it because we're only doing it in one axis. We take this frame and the Y, we said it was the Y, but we're going to split in Z units. There you go. So that is should be a square. Yeah, that's a square section, but it needs to come down by this 0.25, so that's just a simple offset, which we can do here, like so, units, and we're offsetting in Z by, well, because the origin is at the top, Z is down, we just need to do positive, and bang, that fits that corner nicely. So that's, we've got to fit our piece along the diagonal, which is where my funky operator comes in. What we're going to do now is show you diagonal. It's a little funky, but we can show you what it does. So diagonal has some interesting properties. As you can imagine, it generates a frame along the diagonal of another frame. Where on that diagonal there are two potential frames you could build, one above and one below, which is why there's two outputs, upper and lower. But it has the interesting property that the height of that frame, because the length is constrained by the diagonal, so the baseline will be along that diagonal, but the height is calculated such that the top hits the other corner. So that which is useful in a lot of situations. You don't have to use that information, but it is useful. What I'm going to do is I will show you, let me put a box in. Right, for the purposes of this illustration, let's move this out away, not that way, not that way. There you go. Let's move it out here so you can see what we're doing. And I will do a show box, but I'm going to split it off just to make it smaller. So we get a little polygon really. So if I take here, split it in, maybe it's X, I don't know. Let's see what that looks like. Nope, it's the, nope, it was X units, 0.1. Right, so we've got to look, give it a colour. What colour should we have? Yellowy orange, right. So we've got the bottom of the frame. And if I hook this up to upper, you can see what I'm talking about. So upper, given that this is the lower, this is the origin here, and we're actually upside down, the upper is above the diagonal, and the top edge hits this corner. So you can see that's probably a better view. So you've got the diagonal there, and you can see it hitting the corner, which is quite handy. What we want is the other one, which just so happens to be lower. And if we take this offset back, oops, in, we see we get the piece we want. So if we can fit a piece of floor like that, I want a little tile in, it will fit perfectly. There's a few things like the depth position, and because the tiles are 1 by 1, we probably don't want to squash them, but we could just leave it like that and see what it looks like. Oh look, all our doorways have got them. And there's one there. We'll need to repeat this for the other end, which we can do. Let's do, but first I'm going to first we need to get that floor piece. Oh, actually we already do have station resources. We do have floor 1 by 1. We could just use 1 by 1s, so let's do that. And we could use the first one, we could use any one. Let's do that. If we resolve that, we should get our little floor piece, which we can place here. Let's turn off that and that for a minute. What happens if we do that? Nothing. Let's see why would that be placing nothing? My guess is, what is my guess? I don't know. What is my guess? Hang on. If I was placing the whole thing. Oh, we haven't selected a variant. There we go. So that's the whole thing. Let's take the box off. So yes, it's got variants, so we need to select one. Doop. There we go. We've got a piece, and it's the wrong way around, and it's stretched horribly. So let's fix all that. First, it needs to be just the end, so we've got a split already we can use. So let's take that. Now it's squished horribly that way because it's the wrong way around, so we need to reorient that. Let's do that here. Move these along a bit. Placement. We'll leave the box in case I want to do that again. Reorient. It's going to be a 1. Let's try that. Bang. Look at that. Okay, it's there. It fits. We do have the fat bit we don't want. I think we should use the split. Should probably use the actual thickness, and then when we offset it to get rid of the black bit, it'll be 0.25 and won't be the wrong scale. So I think that's that. Nope. Yeah, Z is the. So that's the correct thickness. We need to offset it by 0.25, which we can do here. Offset. And I think that means we've reoriented it. So no, let's do it here before we reorient, which means it should still be in Z. No, it's in X. Minus 0.25. Too much. Why is that too much? Okay. Oh, the whole thing is 0.25. Maybe it's not. Maybe 0.2 is better. Okay, that is better. It's a bit squished, which is, I think we've decided we only wanted that like up to the corner, but we should, if we resize that to be square, which we can do with another split, we'll do that here, and it's going to be whatever its size. It's a unit size, not that axis. Is that right? What's happened there? Oh, it's done it relative to that edge. We don't want that. We want to do that. So it's now square. So it's not distorted, but it's not. Oh, it's a bit ugly. I have to do though. Don't like that piece. Let's select a different one. Ooh, look at that. We'll have that. We were getting this black bit here, which I think is probably just it lining up almost too perfectly. I think just a tiny little offset just to make that. I wonder if we can do that here. Yes, we probably can. Not that one. Minus 0.01. Doink. Just to push it back a little bit. We get a bit more of this bit showing, but that's fine. But we remove the black piece. That's nice. I like that. Let's do the same the other end, which is we can. That may or may not just mirror nicely. Unfortunately, I don't think it will, because it's an angle. What's the best way to do that? So what do? We split off the. Made a square. We brought it down, so that's the same for both. It's this diagonal's the same for both. Then we started. Splitting off the thickness and offsetting it back. If we shrink that, we'll get both ends. Let's do that, and then we can copy the rest. I think it's probably the best way of doing it. Shrink. So instead of splitting, we'll shrink. It's going to be the same amount off both ends in the X in units. That means lower is that one, so that should still work. But now we have an upper as well, so we don't need that. And I'm going to duplicate these bits on the upper end, and then we'll fix whatever needs to happen to make that correct. Yeah, so we've got a piece. That's interesting. It's going to interfere perhaps with its neighbour. Where's that gone? Oh, I haven't hooked it up. I've duplicated it, but I haven't hooked it up yet. So let's hook that up and see what it does. Okay, so we've got kind of the right thing, but some wrong way roundness going on. We offset it. We'll probably want to offset it the other way. We also reorient it the other way. Oh, and that's about it really. I think technically it does intersect, but because it's the same material, I don't think that we're going to notice. But there we go. You fixed it. I want now is the $1 million question. Is that going to work for the other pieces? Let's try. Doom. Yes, that looks nice. That one. Oh, I think we might get away with it. Oh no, we've got this piece. All right, I think we push it back a bit more, which is the 0.01, which I might. Nope, I'm just going to do it by hand. Let's go 0.02, 0.03, 0.05. 0.06. Let's go with that. I need to do the same on that one. And then compare with our neighbours. So, oh no, we've got some, let's push the other one through and get some fighting. Oh, I could push it up a little instead. That might. Of course, so we've got control over this as well. Does that help? Oh, that's the other side. I think I need to move it up. So if I do, oops, 0.05 there, and on this side also 0.05. Oh, minus 0.05 and minus 0.05. Down slightly. Oh no. Okay. That's worked. Right. So it's still working there. Yes. Let's see what that looks like with other combinations. Yeah, so the normal one we were trying to fix. I can slightly see the black, but I don't think that matters. And the other ones were, there's a big fat one. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, I'm good with that. The top's a bit messy, but I think for the interiors, I think that's fine. Oh, I feel like I haven't achieved a huge amount, but I think it'll have to do. I'm going to go with that. I don't think there's much else I'm going to do right now because we've been an hour and it's an evening stream, but we've managed to correct that roundness, which is nice. Tidied up all the corners. we have a floor line, which we can't see any floor next to yet, but we will. We have the back face as well, ready to be in the adjoining room. Next time we will look at how to get that here. So that's what we want. And there's lots of complications to that, which we will have to look at. Yes, indeed. And also we need to look at how to specify where we want the door, because if you've got two rooms, how do you decide where the door goes, especially if it's wider than the door width? I mean, if it's the width of a door, then sure, it'll be fine to say, oh well, that's where the door's going to be, and the other room has to just comply. But that's not always the case. If we had a room like this, or something like this, I mean, there's still a choice of where it goes on both of them. Is it based on the overlap? How do we convey that information between them so they both make the same decision? Or another way of doing it is that on a room you can say, I want a door here, and it puts a door there, but then also conveys to any nearby rooms that there's a door and that you should make a space. That might work. You still have to worry about lining it up here. But then if I then move this around, it would take the door with it, and the other room would update. Yeah, so and if I move it up and down, this room would rebuild. Obviously, if I did that, there's nowhere that the door's going to work, so it's just not sensible. But yeah, if we have it so that, okay, I think that's probably what we'll do. Have the ability to have some extra parameters so that you can specify on each side where a door is, and then rooms also listen out for other rooms with doors nearby and accommodate them. I think that's probably the best plan, because then I was worried about the problem where if I had a long room here and I wanted this room to be like a corridor, would be all well and good, our system would work. But what if I wanted another room here, say? Let's turn off the ceiling. What if I wanted a room here with a door as well, and then this should have two doors in it? I think what we can, and that complicates the way you specify that a room has a door on one of its walls. So what would work in this situation is that this room would specify it has a door there, and this room would specify it has a door there, and then this room would just be told that there are two doors, and it would accommodate accordingly. So we don't need the only thing you wouldn't be able to do is have two rooms next to each other with two doors between both, so like a loop. But for now that's fine, we can still build interesting shapes. I think that would probably work, and we'll start looking at that next week. So specifying that whether one of your walls has a door in it, and then probably where, and then broadcasting that to the other adjacent objects, which we can do using some of the more advanced features we've got to hand. So yeah, it's a nicer looking door. It's a bit tidier. Shame about the exterior, but we could build some more meshes or something for that. But I'm not going to. It'll just have to be because we're worried about the interiors mainly. And then we've got the other door type, which is kind of just an option, just that you can switch between. It'll be narrower, won't matter. A room can convey that to the neighbouring rooms. But yeah, that's what we're going to look at next. So, improved door. Let's go with that. Nice. That's all, folks. Bye-bye. I'll see you next time.